Okay, we are on here. So, hello everyone. This is the first of our Kaafila knowledge sharing discussions, and we're very happy to have Srikanth with us. And Srikanth, I have known you for many years. I think it's close to probably 15 to 18 years now.
Yeah.
And and we both are from the same B school. And Srikanth is from IIM Lucknow 97 batch, and I'm from 2000 batch. So, but we came to know each other in Infosys during our London stints. So, Srikanth, tell us about what your career has been and what you have been doing since the Infosys days.
No, fantastic. First of all, Shankar, thank you so much for having me here on the video. And I just want to say hello to all the people who watch this. Kaafila is a brilliant project. You've got users, I believe, across the globe. So, to say it in different languages, domo arigato in Japan, gracias in Spain or Latin America. So I just want to say thank you. Coming to myself, look, I've been very blessed to have a fairly sort of wide range of experience in my professional career. As you know, I studied at IIM Lucknow, spent the first 4 years of my working life, actually almost 5 in India in consumer goods, and then moved to the US pretty much with emphasis running sales and tech services. The Indian IT services industry was really growing at that time. You and I were beneficiaries of that wave, if I call it that. I spent time both in the East Coast and the Midwest in the US for about 4 years, and then moved to Europe as Infosys looked to grow in Europe. And I totally spent 13 years with that company. After Infosys, I have worked again in different companies in tech services. I ran global sales for Capgemini and then moved a little more to tech BPO at Conduent. And in my last role, I've been working with a tech learning company. So if you look at the intersection of my career, it's been tech, it's been sort of global, and it's been large enterprise clients, and sort of it's been very exciting because it's an ever-changing world.
Very good. So, I know that you've seen a lot, and the aim is like let's share with some of those with our viewers, and many of them are actually quite young. I would say the average user that would come across Kaafila project would be in their 20s. So let's start with our first question: is that what's your advice to someone who is just starting their career in a business development role in a IT services or software or technology kind of software kind of technology industry?
Sure. First of all, I would like to say to people that each of us has our own experience. So whatever I say, use it and make it relevant to your context. What I say is not gospel truth. It worked for me. It may not work for anyone, but it gives a good framework for you to learn from and distill learnings, sort of your own thinking from. So coming to business dev in tech and IT services, I think, look, if you look at my career, I trained as an engineer and then went to management school, like Shankar said. And so when I entered the IT services space as a business development person, I understood tech, but was I a tech expert? Absolutely not. So I don't think there's a need to be a tech expert when you're an IT services person. And in any case, given the spread of tech, none of us can know everything. And that's not the expectation. But what is important, I think, is first of all, curiosity. If you're to work in the tech space, it's ever changing. You need to be curious to know, what does a new product mean? What does a new offering mean? Just to take an example, in today's world, Meta is the new buzzword. So every client out there is going to be talking about, what do I do in the Meta space? Blockchain is the new buzzword. Cryptocurrency is the new buzzword. What does that mean to a client, right? So what I'm trying to say is very important in the BD role in a tech company to be curious, to understand what's happening out there, to keep track of that, because otherwise you're not relevant to your clients, and relevance is everything. That's the first thing. The second thing I'd say is know your client base. Spend the time to get to know them, understand what they are focused on. And it's not rocket science. A lot of it is available on the web. Companies today are probably more open about their initiatives than ever before. All you need to do is Google, look up reports, and you can find it. Because I think the worst thing when you're in a tech space in the BD is when you go to speak to a client and they say, oh, this is what I'm trying to do, and it's public and you don't know about it. It says two things. One, it says that you're coming in there with a product mindset, not a client-centric mindset. You just want to sell what you have as opposed to what they might really need. And secondly, it shows a slight lack of preparation. And I think every company likes someone who's prepared. We all like to feel that we're important and someone has taken the time to prepare to interact with us. And that works in our personal life, it works in our professional life as well. Okay. And the third thing I would say is impact. Know what matters. Sometimes people have a tendency to go onto the latest buzzword, the newest thing. Look, everyone else is doing it, and so you should do it. And what I've found with clients is, yes, while they like those buzzwords, unless it matters to them, they won't do it because they're going to spend money on it. And to spend money, you need to be convinced. So if I were to sort of highlight for any new person, 3 things you've got to keep through your career, and it doesn't change. Be curious, keep learning. That's number 1. Know your clients, know your client base, and take the time to invest, etc. And third, focus on the business impact, as in the outcome that can be driven, the difference, the positive difference you can make to your clients. And that's how you build on it and you succeed.
Very good. So then let's get into something more within the skill sets, because as part of sales, we would like, everybody wants to have some, everybody needs to work towards some targets. Almost everyone has, at whatever role they are in, they would have targets rolling them to them, and sometimes it's direct, sometimes indirect. So how do you build a sales pipeline that can be productive and produce results? And what all have you learned in that part about building that sales pipeline which can deliver results?
No, again, great question. I mean, this is something we all do every day. And it doesn't change whether you're an individual contributor, whether you run a team. I think the basic fundamentals remain the same. And I think the first thing I'd say to building a sales pipeline is there is no substitute for hard work. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but that is a fact. To build a sales pipeline, you have to understand the market you're focused on. Like I said before, you have to find a way to reach out to those prospects or those customers and do it in a structured, methodical manner. Also do it in a way that your messaging is relevant to them. It's at the right time. Further those discussions to make them qualified opportunities. Invest the time to customize your proposition to the opportunity, go through a sales process, and then convert. Now, you will always hear cases of someone who struck it really lucky. There was a really big deal and they made a $500,000 or $1 million commission. But I just need people to remember that that is very much the exception. And you can't build a career on exceptions. You have to build a career on what is consistent, repeatable, predictable. And so building a sales pipeline is a lot about hard work, and it's small steps, and it's sometimes mathematics, right? If you need to convert 3 deals in a quarter, chances are that for 3 deals, you probably need to have 10 deals in the advanced stages. To have 10 deals in the advanced stages, you probably need 30 deals in the early stages. And to have 30 deals in the early stages, you probably need to reach out to 100 prospects. So unless you do that hard work to put those 100 prospects in the pipeline in a qualified way, you're not going to get those 3 deals. So first, hard work, very important, a structured process. The second thing is it's important to be honest to oneself, honest to one's clients, honest to one's colleagues. Often I've seen salespeople who, sometimes we all go through bad times. You've tried your best in the market. There's not as much traction. So I've seen salespeople try and say, hey, look, I've talked to this client and there's opportunity there. Now, the reality is, if you know there is no opportunity, you're wasting your own time. You're wasting someone else's time. So it's good to be honest and say, is this really an opportunity? Is this likely to be an opportunity? If so, yes, we spend energy on it. If it's not, your best place to move on and be honest to the client as well, that look, I'll talk to you at a time when this is relevant. Let's keep the relationship going. That honesty in pipeline is very critical. Otherwise, I see many cases, or I've seen across my career, where people say, oh, I've got X million in my pipeline. And then the question comes 2 quarters down the line, but you've not even signed $100,000. What happened? They're like, oh, the client changed their mind. Now, that's an easy excuse, but the reality is maybe one didn't try hard enough to qualify that and understand better. So second thing is being honest. And I think the third thing that's probably important is think long-term. Sales is not a quick fix transactional thing. You've got to lay seeds Some will results in 2 months, 3 months. Some will result in like 6 months, 8 months. And I'll give you an example. I heard this from someone who was the global head of one of the world's best known consulting firms. Okay, I won't name the firm, it's not right. Now, this firm has worked with pretty much every Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 company you can think of in the US. It's a US firm. But they had never worked with Walmart for whatever reason. And so when this person took over as the global head of that firm, he reached out to the then CEO of Walmart. And this story is about 15 years old, so it's not relevant. And then he said, look, I'd just like to come and meet you. And, because we have a lot of respect for your organization. And so, obviously it's the CEO of a big consulting firm. The Walmart CEO agreed. They met for half an hour. And at the end of it, the Walmart CEO, the consulting CEO asked Walmart, so we'd love to support you, right? Why would you work with us? And, the Walmart CEO said, we don't know you guys as well. And we always feel like you come to us with answers. You've not taken the trouble to know us and understand our problems. And so the CEO of this consulting firm said, okay, let's make an arrangement. I will come and see you every quarter just to listen to you, just to listen, get a sense, and I won't have any expectations on business. Of course, it's a big investment. It's money, it's time, but they could do it. They're a big firm. 8 quarters in a row, he met the Walmart CEO. And in the 9th quarter, the Walmart CEO said, hey, we've got this problem. Maybe you guys can give us some ideas. And long story short, it became a relationship that paid off. So the story I'm saying is always think long term. There will be some clients who will be clients for today. There'll be some clients who will be clients for tomorrow. And having that perspective is important because the market is big and the market has long memories.
I think it's safe to say from my experience that there's no client this month for any effort. I think
Exactly.
in any kind of service. So if we are starting and trying to make anything useful, so many times we have sent messages and after 6 months, 9 months, a reply comes that, are you still offering that service? It's almost like that. Or are you still doing that? And then you realize that because people are in their own lives and, going through their own phases in their business. And when they suddenly realize that, okay, something has come from here. So I think, yes. So having that willingness to invest and share whatever we have is very critical. If somebody thinks that they can just make a campaign and then expect something out of it, I think they will actually be losing money and effort because that campaign needs multiple steps to even make productivity maybe 4 quarters down the line.
As they say, it takes a village to raise a child, right? So it's a bit like that. A lot of things need to fall in place. So just to recap, honesty is important. There is no substitute for hard work and think long term. And that's how you build a pipeline. Yeah.
Very good. And that brings to our next question. Is that supposing we have the kind of people that we want to get into our pipeline prospects, and we have reached to a discussion level where they're saying, okay, tell us how we can use your services or whatever. So the next question is, how do you create a good sales proposal and what are the elements of a good proposal?
Again, I think a good sales proposal is one part of the sales process, but a very important part, because often that is the part that is written and the client tends to work off the document. But I just want to highlight that in the sales process, every written document matters. Every interaction matters, whether it's a meeting, a walkthrough. Every reference call matters that the client will ask to set with you. Every product demo matters if you're in the product space. And the client's not just looking at your offering, they're looking at how your team culture is, how do you work. They're also looking at, is this the kind of company I want to work with? They'll get a sense of, is your pricing right? Are you there trying to build a mutually beneficial partnership, or are you trying to sort of, just make money at their cost? All of these things going into winning a sales proposal. So it's important. But coming specifically to the written proposal itself, I think first of all, it's important to again spend time understanding what the client is actually looking for, which means reading the document of the problem statement the client has, trying to talk to the client as much as possible. And when I say talk, it's important to listen to the client. I've found a lot of salespeople who would go to meetings and spend 80% of the meeting talking about what they're bringing to the table. And they think it's a successful meeting. But the reality is the time with the client is valuable time. The client's chosen to give it to you. The best use you can make of that time is to let them speak about what is their pain point, what matters to them, why are they talking to you, what are they looking to achieve. And look at it as a simple puzzle, right? In a puzzle, if you're filling more than half the blank sheet, there's less space for the other person to fill it up. So you've got to give them space. So once you get that, understand the problem statement and then build a proposal or the framework of a proposal based on what addresses that problem statement, right? I think that's key. And that's why I've heard a good salespeople or sales leaders say it helps to write an executive summary at the start of a proposal and then build out the detail. Because the executive summary or the framework or the wireframe, whatever you call it, gives you a sense of, look, this is the client's problem. Have I understood it well enough? And this is my solution. Does it address all or most of the aspects that the client wants, right? And then if you feel it does, then you sort of fill it up as opposed to going down the detail before you actually have the framework in place. It's a bit like if someone's building a house of 3 floors, you don't build the first floor and then say, okay, now what should I do with the second floor, right? You have an architect's design for the entire building, and then you start building piece by piece once the overall architecture is in place. Similar with the proposal. The other thing I'd say is it's important to keep it crisp. We all tend to write a lot based on what we know, but it's important to think about, is that relevant in this context? Do I say that now? Do I say it later? Because just like what you want to say is important to you, the client's time is important to them, and respect that time, respect their focus, make it crisp to the point what you need, and then you can always provide more detail as and when they need it. Of course, if detail is important and relevant, you should put it, but I'm saying striking that balance is critical in a proposal. The third thing I'd say with the proposal is review it. One good practice I've found in many cases is have a third party, as in it could be some of your colleagues who are not involved in the proposal, or maybe an ex-client or someone else, because a proposal looked at from another person's eyes always gives you feedback for improvement. And I've seen salespeople who feel that, look, I understand this opportunity best, so what I have written or my team has written is good enough. If someone else gives me inputs that are critical, you say, hey, you don't understand the situation, I've got this. You may choose to ignore it, but listen to the feedback, because that's how the client is looking at it. The client is evaluating you with 3 other or 4 other or 5 other proposals. And so getting a sense of how a third person, another person looks at it is very critical as part of the process. So just to recap again, I'd say client centricity, understand the problem and then come to the solution, build a wireframe. The second is keep it concise and crisp, because as I think it was Winston Churchill who said that if you ask me to speak for 1 hour, I can do it this afternoon. But if you ask me to speak for 10 minutes, I will need a week to prepare. Right? So it's almost like that you've got to be crisp. And the third thing is always look at it or get feedback from the other person's eyes.
Very good. That's very useful. Thanks very much for that, Srikanth. And that brings us to the last question for this discussion, and that is that suppose we haven't reached that proposal stage yet, or in some cases there are lots of startups and companies, even larger companies may have some new products and solutions that they are preparing. And now how do you get these new products or innovative products and solutions get a try by a large company? Like how do you envisage that happening, where suppose you are CEO of a startup and you have built a new product on, let us, whatever, AI based or whatever, something innovative, and you obviously that's geared for larger companies to use, because that they can benefit the most in terms of how this product really plays out in their company and gives them large values. So that as the founder and CEO of that, now how do you make those larger companies give it a try? How would you approach that?
Yeah, I think that's the holy grail, as they call it, right? Because you can talk all you want, but until the customer tries your product or service, that's where the rubber hits the road. And then they make an impression. So that first moment of truth, as they call it, is creating that is important. I think to me, at least what I've seen in my career is it first starts with credibility, right? When you go to a client and it's something completely new, the client says, okay, I've never tried this area before. They're looking for something to hang a hook on, or hang their premise on. That premise could be your company is credible. It could be you as the individual, they worked with you in some capacity on something else before, so you're credible, right? It could be some other client, a reference that they've worked with before who says, hey, this is worth a try, it's credible. So you've got to find a hook for credibility so that the client feels that, look, although I'm taking a risk on this innovation or this new service or product, there is something which tells me that there is a chance it will succeed. It's not a guarantee, but there's a chance. And that could be the individual, the company, or the reference. So finding that hook for credibility is very important. Why do we always ask for a warm introduction to someone? We do that because by association, when the introduction comes from someone the third person trusts, they say, all right, let me give this person another 10 minutes to hear out what they have to say because I believe the introduction, so credibility is key. That's number one. The second thing I would say, going back to what I said earlier, is being honest is important. And that's because when someone is trying something innovative, the first thing they're concerned about is what is the risk? What will break? What could go wrong? Will it cost me a lot? Will I waste my time? Etc., etc. And I think they're being upfront about the fact that, look, is this fully tried and tested? No, but this is the benefit it could give you. This is what we've learned in other cases have gone wrong, but I think it's worth a try. It'll impact you so much. Trust me, if you're honest, a client is more likely to try it, buy that proposition or try it from you, as opposed to someone who says, hey, this is great, no problems, it'll all work. Because the moment someone tells us something is too good to be true, we start thinking, maybe there's a catch. That's human instinct, and that's the case. Nothing is perfect, right? So that's important. So credibility, honesty. But the third thing is spend a lot of time making it easy for the client to try.
Yep.
I'll take an example of that, right? So let's say that just take an example of one of the world's largest chocolate companies. We all love chocolate, right? Take Hershey's or take Mars. How do they start a new product launch? They do market research, they design the product, they manufacture it, and often they provide samples in the market. That's what they do. We all know that. Now, let's say you're giving out free samples. Think of a typical retail shop. If you're giving out free samples, but you put it in some small chocolate aisle in the thing, only the people who go to the chocolate aisle will see it and they'll say, okay, let me take one. So that cuts your trying by half. Instead, let's say they say that let's keep a bowl or a bucket near the exit to the shop and say free chocolate. Chances are more people will pick it up because it's easier to do. No one doesn't walk there and so on. Now, let's say this, make a person stand next to that basket who's actually holding stuff in your hand. And as you walk out of the door, they say, would you like one? Would you try one? More likely that people will try. Now, I know it's a simple day-to-day example, but it's the same with products as well. You have to make it very easy for the client to try it. Create a design of a pilot or a use case that the client can say, all right, let me try this quickly. It could be with 3 people in my team. I will try it for 3 weeks and maybe it'll give me some view of how the product could work. And of course, you've got to have a good product or a good service, because if you don't, then it's going to fall flat anyway. But Correct. Making it easy to try is very important. And I often find that a lot of companies, especially early stage companies and salespeople, don't put the effort into that. They say that, hey, if I'm giving you something free, you should try it. Why would you not? But remember that you may give the product or service free, but there's a lot of effort and time that the client has to invest to use
even using that. Correct.
Yes. And so making it easy to try is very, very important.
So basically to structure a pilot in such a way that it's easy to try, time bound.
Very much so.
And also I've found time bound pilots tend to get adopted, because you can say we will do a pilot in like 4 weeks, and at the end of 4 weeks you will have a report on how it worked.
Let's take another simple example from our day-to-day life, right? We all buy stuff on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Now, Amazon has one-click purchase for those who have a Prime account. that one-click purchase increases the likelihood of purchase by God knows how many percent, but a significant number. Instead, if you had to just put a credit card number each time you want to buy something, it would fall probably by 40%. Even if you really want to buy something, you start saying, hey, you know what, maybe I'll do it later. But if it's one click, you do it because it's easy to do, easy to try. So just to recap,
Exactly.
I think credibility is important. Second is that again, start from what the client needs. I think that's critical, and make it easy to try. I'd say that's very important when something is innovative. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically credibility to make them listen to you first.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the very first place.
Yeah.
And once they are willing to listen, make it so easy or structured
yeah.
to you so that they can know that this is the risk they want to take.
And be honest about the risks, right? That's the important part. So exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. Really useful. I think anyone who sees this, and I'm going to see this a couple of times myself, and everyone I know in our Kaafila users and team members will love it. And really useful information there with examples. So thank you very much, Srikanth. And it's very nice feeling to have you as the first speaker in this series. Thank you very much.
Shankar, it's my pleasure. I know you mentioned me Kaafila in Arabic means a group or a caravan, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
It's also knowledge for life.
Yes.
I believe in karma. I grew up in India, so you have to give to the ecosystem, and hopefully this helps other people, because through my career, a lot of people have helped me. So I'm glad for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's our way of passing it through. I agree. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Take care, Shankar. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.